Hello guys, so in this video here I want to talk about callback functions in C. Um, let's get that. So we're talking about callback functions. So what is a callback function? A callback function is pretty much a function, right? A function calling another function, right? So this function here, let's say it's void. I'm just saying, so funct, let's call this funct1, right? And this is another function. So this another function could be funct A, funct B, funct C, funct D. These in this example I have float, mul, sub, divide. So these are like funct A, B, C, and D, and they're being called by the display function here. So that's the gist of it. Callback functions are all these functions here, right? And this is the function here that is calling all these functions, right? Display is taking as an argument a function pointer. So you're representing these functions using a function pointer. Now, a function pointer is basically we're taking in the address of the function, then the return type of the function, and the params are the arguments of the function. So arg1, arg2, and so on. So they must be the same. The type must be the same. So the type here must match. What I mean by that is that you see here I have float and float, 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 all of this. And in this function here, the argument type is also float and float. And the return type is void, 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 void. So everything is in sync. So we can abstract all of this down to a function pointer, and we can call all of these functions right here using this display function here. So these functions here are called callback, right? Callback functions because they're being called back using another function. Now, let's try to understand how this whole process happens, right? So when you think of a function pointer, you're thinking it's pretty much a pointer, but it points to a function. So if a pointer points to a function, when you dereference that pointer, right, you can execute the contents of that function. What I mean by that is here, let's say you have sum, right? You have mul, you have sub, and you have divide. Now, this function pointer here, fptr, right? This function pointer here, what you're really doing is that you're passing in sum. So when you call this display function, you're passing in sum. That is the address of sum to this function pointer here. So here you're gonna have sum address. Now sum, this pointer is pointing now to sum. So when you dereference this pointer here, right? You're gonna have the contents or the code that is in sum, and it's gonna execute. This is a plus b, whatever it's gonna execute. Similarly, when you pass in, when you call mul, you're getting the address of the mul here, so it's gonna point, right? This gonna point now to here, right? And then the function pointer gonna dereference it, and you're gonna execute this function. So the gist of it is that a callback function or callbacks are basically, you have a function, right? You have a function and you're passing into that function as the argument another function. So another function. I'm just going to write it like this. So this here is represented by a function pointer, right? So you're passing in an address because a pointer would store an address, and you're executing here. And that is basically what we're doing here. We're using one function to call multiple functions, right? I run this code on an online simulation. So let's just look at it here. I use arguments here as 10 and 20. You have the prototype of the functions. This basically would enable you to write all of this code for the functions below main, and it would run, right? In this case, maybe if you don't write the prototype, it'll still run, but it's a good practice to have your function prototypes defined. I mean, declared on top here. All right. So let us just run the code and see what happens here. Here's your function. I mean the code, and we're calling display, and we're using 10 and 20. So the sum should be 30, what, 200, minus 10 and 0.5. Let's run this. So now I run this, and here is your answer. 30, 200, minus 10, 0.5. No, I just use a float because I wanted to use divide and, just show everything in one. So you can call multiple functions using one function by passing in each function as an argument to that other function by utilizing function pointer. All right. So I will stop here for this video. If you find this content useful, you can subscribe to my channel. I'm going to continue to put out contents on various aspects of embedded and assembly language and stuff like that. So guys, this is all for now. You guys have a great night. Bye.